About 2 decades before the Mona Lisa and The Last Supper, Leonardo da Vinci started working on a pretty important and commonly depicted scene of Christian mythology: the Adoration of the Magi, or the moment after the birth of Christ when 3 wise men or kings visited Jesus to offer him gifts. Leonardo's version of this story is strikingly different from the ones we're used to seeing, not only because Leonardo added more action both in the foreground and in the background, but also because it's unfinished. This scene was commissioned by Augustinian monks in Florence, but shortly after starting it, Leonardo left for Milan. The work he left behind shows Mary and her son Jesus receiving a gift from one of the 3 kings in front of an excited crowd. In the background, a war broke out. You see a temple in ruin with some people fighting in it. This could symbolize the fight between good and evil, or between Christians and pagans. However, it's the fact that this painting remained unfinished which makes it so appealing to me, which adds to its mystery. The subject matter is not at all revolutionary, but the fact that it's unfinished allows us to appreciate the painting in a different way. The foreground prefigures his later work, The Last Supper, with subjects expressively acting different emotions. However, unlike in The Last Supper, these subjects have an eerie feeling to them. Some are ghost-like, blending in with the panel they're painted on. Some are skeleton-like, as if they had lost their flesh. Most of them don't even have eyes, their sockets being dark, soulless pits. It's known that Leonardo was a scientist, closely and fanatically studying anatomy, and it seems here that, to paint human faces, he first sketched their skulls. Perhaps he was to add their eyes, their flesh, their color later. I could go on about the painting's composition, the different possible meanings of the tree, the possible self-portrait Leonardo included, or the various interpretations of the temple in the background. However, if I make that video, I don't think we'll get much out of it. Nothing much important anyways. Instead, I want to offer you something different. I want to look at this painting not as it is or as it appears, but as it was used in Tarkovsky's last movie, The Sacrifice. Perhaps by looking at it this way, we'll learn something more valuable. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you. I cannot overstate the importance of my patrons, which is why I thank every single one of them who donate $1 or more per month in the credits at the end of each of my videos. Check out patreon.com/thecanvas if you want to contribute to the production of these videos. I've never been a religious person, at least not since I was a kid. And I'm not really looking for anything spiritually. I have a craving, sure, but I think that's universal. Our need for spiritual fulfillment is undeniable. It's baked into us as a species. Some would say that it's evidence for God. I think it's evidence that we created gods out of necessity, an existential necessity. But I don't believe in gods, in souls, or spirits. Modern pragmatism robs me from that. I'll never know what it feels like to feel connected to the mystical, to have a relationship with it. I might be missing out from an essential part of the human experience. We're increasingly heading as a civilization into a world without this spiritual connection. Russian filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky saw that and bemoaned it. He was an Orthodox Christian. His movies almost always explicitly deal with faith and spirituality. However, they're not the Christian movies you may think about, with the heavy moralizing and preaching. Instead, Tarkovsky exploits people's need for faith and spirituality and give the viewer, who may not even believe, the feeling of believing. In other words, watching Tarkovsky can be as close as a non-believer can get to experiencing spirituality. How does one not miss out from this essential part of the human experience? I don't choose not to believe in God or spirits or higher powers. That's just how I understand the world. But I still crave for spirituality. When Nietzsche announced the death of God, he wasn't just cheering for it. He was also worried. The death of God, or the death of religious influence, frees us, sure. It allows us to engage with the world on our own terms. But the death of God also announces the death of meaning for many people. This freedom comes with a cost. If God doesn't exist, if the world isn't shaped for us by a higher being who cares for us, if there is no afterlife, then what even is the point of living? How can I find a purpose? How can I satisfy my need for spirituality, my need to believe? So Tarkovsky gives to the viewer the feeling of believing, but what does that even mean? To answer that question, I want to circle back to Leonardo's Adoration of the Magi. In every movie Tarkovsky made, there are references to artworks, usually religious ones, from Ivan's childhood, where Ivan admires the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse by Albrecht Dürer, to Tarkovsky's last movie, The Sacrifice, where Leonardo's Adoration of the Magi becomes a recurring theme in the movie. The Sacrifice begins with a 5-minute still of Leonardo's painting before slowly revealing the tree in the background. Tarkovsky is juxtaposing Leonardo's painting to his own work. That'll be important later. Shortly after, the double staircase appears, which makes a clear reference to the temple in the background of the Adoration of the Magi. Later, we'll see these same stairs, but with chaos surrounding them, as they are in the painting. The main character, Alexander, and his friend Otto first face the painting in this scene.
Tavlan där. På väggen, vad är det? Jag ser inte riktigt. Den är bakom glas och så är det så mörkt.
Det är heliga tre konungars tillbedjan. Leonardo. Ja, det är en reproduktion förstås.
Herregud, vad hemskt den är. Jag har alltid varit väldigt rädd för Leonardo.
Then we see Alexander literally seeing himself on the day of his birthday in this painting. I started making this video thinking I could summarize and analyze the movie for you. I won't do that. I won't do it for two reasons. First, and it's been said already, Tarkovsky's movies aren't meant to be deconstructed and analyzed. Doing that would be defeating the very essence of the movie. As I said, it's a spiritual experience. He makes you feel the feeling of believing. Breaking that down using the microscope like a cudgel, as Alexander would say, risks cheapening that experience. Talking about it with friends and family, debating about your interpretations of that experience might be a better way to engage with that work of art. I don't think the video essay is the proper tool for that. The second reason as to why I won't summarize and analyze the movie is because it's not that important to the point I'm trying to make. So what exactly is the point I'm trying to make? Tarkovsky is using artworks, usually from the Middle Ages or the Renaissance, because there's a sense of religiosity or spirituality inherent to these works. This is what Alexander has to say about it.
Fantastiskt. En sån märklig förfining. Vilken klokhet och andlighet och så denna rent barnsliga oskuldsfullhet.
Leonardo is quite similar to this, minus the childlike innocence, of course. We see these works of art as if they had a closer proximity to a god or a spirituality, perhaps just because they're old and somewhat mysterious, a mystery we associate to spirituality. But these works, which meant to convey supernatural ideas of a transcending power, are as close to God or spirituality as many works of art today. We see Leonardo's Adoration of the Magi, an unfinished painting. It's mysterious, it depicts religion, it's meant to connect with believers, and we automatically associate it with the mystical. It gains power. Tarkovsky plays into that by giving these works significance, by giving them importance in his movies, but what he does most crucially is that he's creating parallels between these artworks and his own work. It's undeniable. The Sacrifice and Leonardo's Adoration of the Magi are intertwined, from Alexander seeing himself in the painting, to the juxtaposition of Maria and Mary at the end of the movie, to the double staircase, and finally, the tree, which serves as bookends for this movie. This painting has power, and this power is easily recognizable even if you're not religious like I am. Tarkovsky is saying, there's still a place for these works of art, ones with spiritual power, ones that can make even the unbelievers experience faith. There's still a place for them today. It's not just a middle-aged thing, it's not just a Renaissance thing, it's a human thing. And as an atheist, that's how I can admire Tarkovsky's movies. He's filling the spiritual void in our hearts, not with religion, belief, or faith, but with art. After watching a Tarkovsky movie, you don't get closer to God or faith, you get closer to an understanding of spirituality that, though you may not adhere to as I don't, you can still feel. The idea that you're not alone in the world, that we're all connected by different but similar feelings, interests, and experiences, that all of this can be communicated and concentrated in works of art that speak to you, that's as close as I'll get to spirituality. The world may be meaningless, but that's hard to believe after watching Tarkovsky. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you have already. And I'd like to thank, as always, Roman Brandel, Mike Wex, and every other patron for supporting the channel. If you'd also like to support the channel, check out patreon.com/thecanvas. Thank you.